a boy from Mississippi, the early life of Ronnie McNutt. Born and raised in a small, close-knit community, Ronnie's early years were filled with the charm and simplicity of rural life. The rolling landscapes of Mississippi were the backdrop to his childhood adventures and dreams. Ronnie McNutt, a name forever etched in the annals of internet infamy. But beyond the headlines and the viral videos, there was a real person with a story that began long before the tragedy. But before the tragedy, before the horror, there was a young man from Mississippi. A young man who was full of life, with a smile that could light up a room and a heart that was always ready to help others. A life filled with promise. Ronnie graduated with dreams of making a difference, of carving out a path that would lead him to success and fulfillment. His family and friends were his biggest supporters, always cheering him on. Ronnie was known for his kind heart. He was the type of person who would go out of his way to help a neighbor, play with children, or volunteer his time for a good cause. His generosity knew no bounds. He had a gentle soul. Whether he was sitting quietly by a lake, petting a dog, or simply lost in thought, there was a calmness about him that drew people in. He found peace in the simple moments of life. He loved to make people laugh. Ronnie had a knack for humor, always ready with a joke or a funny dance to lift the spirits of those around him. His laughter was infectious and his joy was genuine. He was a son, a friend, a brother in arms. His relationships were the cornerstone of his life, providing him with a sense of belonging and purpose. Whether at a family dinner, hanging out with friends, or serving alongside his comrades, Ronnie was always surrounded by love. A life brimming with potential, cut tragically short. Ronnie had dreams and aspirations, plans for the future that were never realized. His hopeful expression and forward-looking gaze were a testament to the possibilities that lay ahead. His story is not just about its tragic end. It's about the journey, the moments that defined him, and the impact he had on those around him. It's a reminder that every life is a tapestry of experiences, both good and bad. It's about the importance of mental health awareness. Ronnie's story highlights the need for understanding and support for those struggling with mental health issues. It's a call to action for greater compassion and resources. It's about the devastating effects of PTSD. As a veteran, Ronnie faced battles that many of us can only imagine. His struggle with PTSD was a silent burden, one that ultimately took a heavy toll on his life. It's about the role of social media in our lives, the way it can amplify our pain, our struggles, and sometimes our darkest moments. Ronnie's story is a stark reminder of the power and responsibility that comes with our digital presence, and the urgent need for change. Change in how we approach mental health, how we support our veterans, and how we use social media. It's a call to action for a more empathetic and understanding world. Ronnie's story is a stark reminder that behind every screen, there's a human being, a person with feelings, struggles, and a need for connection. It's a plea for empathy in an often disconnected world, a human being who deserves our empathy, our understanding, our support. We must remember to reach out, to offer a hand, and to be there for one another in times of need. This is the story of Ronnie McNutt, a story that is more than its tragic end. It's a story of a life lived with love, laughter, and a desire to make a difference. A story that calls us to be better, to do better, and to remember the human behind the screen. The price of service, shadows of war, and the onset of PTSD. Ronnie's path took a turn when he enlisted in the military. He served his country with honor, but the battlefield leaves its mark. He returned home a changed man, haunted by the things he had seen, plagued by nightmares he couldn't escape. The diagnosis was PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, an invisible wound that cuts deep. It's a cruel irony. The very thing that made him brave, his service, now imprisoned him in his own mind. The laughter faded, the light in his eyes dimmed. Ronnie was fighting a new battle, a battle within himself. The unraveling job loss, heartbreak, and desperation. Life after service was a struggle. Ronnie found it hard to adjust. He lost his job. The steady income that provided stability, gone. His relationship crumbled, the love and support he craved slipping away. He was trapped in a downward spiral. Desperation began to set in. He reached out for help. He sought therapy. He tried medication, but the demons of PTSD tightened their grip. Each day became a battle he feared he was losing. He felt alone, lost in a system that seemed ill-equipped to save him. The Fatal Night, A Cry for Help Ignored, August 31st, 2020. A date forever seared into the memories of those who bore witness. Ronnie, in the depths of despair, went live on Facebook. He was distraught. He had reached his breaking point. What began as a plea for help, a desperate cry into the void, quickly spiraled. Viewers watched in horror. They pleaded with him. They begged him to reconsider. Some even contacted Facebook. They urged the platform to intervene, to stop the live stream. But their pleas were met with silence. The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. Section 5. The Digital Witness, Social Media's Role in Tragedy. Social media, a double-edged sword. It connects us. It informs us. It brings people together, bridging distances and fostering relationships that might otherwise never exist. But it can also be a breeding ground for darkness, a platform for hate, a stage for tragedy. The anonymity it provides can embolden the worst in people, allowing them to spread negativity without consequence. Ronnie's story thrust the dark side of social media into the spotlight. His experience was a stark reminder of how quickly things can spiral out of control online. It raised questions about responsibility, about accountability. Who is to blame when things go wrong? The platform? The users? Or society as a whole? About the power and peril of technology. The live stream continued. It was a stark reminder of how technology, while powerful, can also be perilous. Ronnie's pain, broadcasted to the world. His suffering was no longer a private matter, but a public spectacle. The comment section became a chaotic mix of pleas for help, expressions of shock, and horrifying indifference. It was a digital battleground of emotions. Some viewers, desensitized by the internet's constant barrage of content, treated it as entertainment. They laughed, they mocked, they moved on. Their apathy, a chilling reminder of the dark side of online anonymity. The faceless nature of the internet can strip away empathy, leaving behind a void of indifference. Section 6. Viral Horror, the Spread of Trauma and the Fight for Removal. Then it happened. The moment that shocked the world. The moment that is impossible to forget. The live stream showed Ronnie's final act of despair. It was a gruesome end, a tragedy broadcast live for the world to see. And then, the video spread. Like wildfire, it jumped from feed to feed, from platform to platform. Despite attempts to remove it, the footage resurfaced. A constant reminder of the tragedy, a macabre spectacle shared and reshared. Those who witnessed it firsthand were left traumatized, haunted by the images, the pleas for help they could not answer. Section 7. A life lost, a conversation ignited. Mental health in the spotlight. Ronnie's death sparked outrage. It ignited a conversation. People questioned Facebook's role in the tragic event. They wondered how such a tragedy could unfold so publicly, and why more wasn't done to prevent it. They demanded greater content moderation. The public outcry was loud and clear. People wanted social media platforms to take responsibility, to ensure that harmful content was swiftly removed, and to protect vulnerable individuals from exposure to such distressing material. They called for more mental health resources. Communities rallied together, emphasizing the need for accessible mental health services. They highlighted the importance of having support systems in place so that those in crisis could find the help they desperately needed. Ronnie's story became a tragic symbol, a symbol that resonated with many who had experienced similar struggles. His life and death brought to light the urgent need for change, a symbol of a system that failed him, a system that many felt was broken and in dire need of reform. The cracks in the system were evident, and Ronnie's story was a stark reminder of its shortcomings. A system that fails countless others struggling in silence. Many people suffer in isolation, feeling neglected and unsupported. The tragedy highlighted the silent battles that many face every day. The tragedy forced people to confront an uncomfortable truth. It made society reflect on its own attitudes towards mental health. It was a wake-up call to address the stigma and to foster a more compassionate and understanding environment. Mental health issues are real. They are prevalent. They do not discriminate. People from all walks of life, regardless of age, background, or status, can be affected. And they can affect anyone. Mental health challenges are universal. They touch the lives of the young and old, the rich and poor, and everyone in between. The stigma surrounding mental health often prevents people from seeking help. Fear of judgment and misunderstanding keeps many from reaching out. This stigma needs to be broken down. Ronnie's story became a catalyst for change, a catalyst for awareness, a catalyst for compassion. It inspired a movement, urging society to take mental health seriously and to support those in need. Section 8. The Aftermath. Calls for change and the quest for accountability. In the wake of Ronnie's death, there were calls for action. People demanded accountability from Facebook. They criticized the platform's slow response. They highlighted the need for better content moderation. They urged for stricter regulations that would prevent such tragedies from happening again. The tragedy also shone a light on the need for better mental health support for veterans, support for those struggling with PTSD, support for anyone struggling in silence. Ronnie's story became a rallying cry, a cry for a more empathetic and supportive world. Section 9. Remembering Ronnie, a legacy marred by tragedy. Ronnie McNutt's story is a tragedy. It's a story of pain, despair, and ultimately loss. But it's also a story that demands to be told, a story that needs to be heard. His legacy is forever intertwined with the harrowing way he died. But it's important to remember the man, the kind soul, the loving son and friend. His story is a stark reminder of the importance of mental health awareness. It's a call for empathy and understanding. It's a plea for a world where people feel comfortable seeking help. A world where no one feels alone in their struggles.